All right, we got a mailbag episode coming up here on Chicago Bears Now following the trade of Joe Thuney. That, of course, followed the trade of Jonah Jackson. If you missed it, Thuney to the Bears for a 2026 fourth-round pick. Absolutely love the move. And now Bears fans are going to fire in those questions here on today's show. My name is Harrison Graham. Let's get to it. All right, we got Tyler staying with a $2 super chat. Trade down to the teens, get Mykel Williams. Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from getting Jonah Jackson and obviously Joe Thuney is you've got a lot of flexibility. You could stick and pick at 10, still take a lineman. You could take Ashton Jeanty. You could trade down and get one of these edge rushers, which I don't love the edge rushers at 10, but in a trade down scenario, a Mykel Williams, a Shamar Stewart, a Mike Green, whatever direction you want to go. Could Mason Graham fall to 10? So you want flexibility when you enter the draft. So I think the Bears have started to create that for themselves. And trade down for Mykel, like if they trade down to 15, 16, get him, maybe add an extra second-round pick, I would not argue against that whatsoever. Jordan Heflin, hey boys, it's that time of year. LFG, FGB, Curious Harrison, why do you think we're trying to keep Swift? I feel if the Bears draft Jeanty, Swift is going to get traded again like he did previously with the Lions. Well, the reason I think they're keeping Swift is, one, even though he's a flawed player, he still did have, I think, like 12 or 1,300 all-purpose yards last year. Like, he's still a productive back in this league. And Ben Johnson wants two running backs. I don't think Roschon Johnson is part of a 1-2 punch. Don't think he's dynamic enough. I think he's your third back that can give you some short yardage punch and special teams value. To me, if you draft Jeanty, you're pairing him with Swift. And Jeanty's rookie year, you may not want to run him into the ground because he had a ton of touches this year for Boise State. So you keep maybe like a 60-40 split with Swift, and then the next year you move on from Swift and you find a new back to pair with Jeanty. I think that's kind of the thinking there. So that's how I would approach it if they draft Ashton Jeanty. But I do expect DeAndre Swift to be on the roster in 2025. Grade the trade of Joe Thuney, a fourth-round pick next year to get a four-time All-Pro. I think it's an absolutely fantastic deal. A, B, C, D, or F. Fire in the comment section. How do you think the Bears did here? The Notcast, trade for Travon Walker. Let's keep the trades flowing. I wonder what Travon Walker would cost in a trade, because I don't think I would trade the number 10 pick for him. Would I trade 39 or 41, though? I'd probably consider it. I know people have been like, oh, that was one of the worst number 1 picks ever. Well, Travon Walker the last 2 years, 10 sacks, 10.5 sacks. He's not a perfect player. If they could do that over, they wouldn't have taken him number 1, certainly not over Aiden Hutchinson. But, like, if he was, like, the 8th pick, people would be like, yeah, it's a pretty good pick, good pass rusher, could play the run pretty well. So, yeah, I mean, like, if you could trade 39 or 41 for him, I'd probably consider that. I'm not trading the 10th pick, though. Dennis, the Chicago kid, hashtag Bears, with polls trading for 2 guards they might not love who's available in free agency or the draft at center. What's the center you think the Bears could trade for? I'd be shocked if they also traded for a center. I don't even know who would be available in a trade for a center. I'd have to look through some teams' rosters. But obviously the free agent options, Drew Dahlman, sounds like he's going to get a huge contract. My gut tells me he's not going to be a Bear. I think they don't want to pay big for him. He might get like $17, $18 million a year. Options after that, Ryan Kelly, I think on a 1 or 2 year deal, vet from Indy. You'd have 2 big-time vets on the interior with him and Joe Thuney, obviously. And then maybe you draft a center as well. And then Josh Myers from the Packers. Bigger center, which is what obviously Ben Johnson had in Detroit with Frank Ragnow. He's about 6'5", 310. So maybe they'd go that route. Maybe you bring back Coleman Shelton and draft a guy. So we'll see what happens there. But when you upgrade at guard, like you did, especially with Thuney, it gives you options. And that's what you want. You want optionality as a general manager in this league. What say you? Do you think the Bears signed Drew Dahlman? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I don't think they do. Producer Colin does think they do, so we'll see which one of us is right. We may have to put a little wager on that. Y for yes, in for no. Will the Bears sign Drew Dahlman? All right, more questions to come, so keep firing away. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. But first, we got to talk about our sponsor. That, of course, is Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/Bears now to get signed up and download the best personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and help lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. Question for you guys. How much per month do you think you're spending on subscriptions? Fire away in the chat. Well, guess what? The answer is closer to $300. Most Americans think they spend about $62 per month, but it's way more. I mean, think about the amount of subscription services from streaming apps and online newspapers and grocery services, whatever the case may be. It adds up. And when you can see it all on one screen, like Rocket Money shows you, you're like, wow, I may have to scale back here. That's what I did, my wife and I, because we got big bills, man. We got a mortgage. We got a daycare monthly bill for our son. Like, I know a lot of you guys have similar stuff. You got to pick and choose what you're willing to pay for, and Rocket Money is going to help you make those decisions and just kind of outline in real time what you're spending your money on. So get started with Rocket Money today. They have over 5 million users and counting, and have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 per year when using all of the app's features. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/bears now. I'm just going to mention this since we're live as well. If you're watching the mailbag later, you've probably already seen this news, but Tyler Lockett just got cut by the Seattle Seahawks. The price is right. Don't mind him as a wide receiver free. Just going to throw that out there. Christian, how much impact do you think Ben Johnson had on these two trades? I think a lot. For sure with Jonah Jackson, guy he's worked with directly. I think that's obvious. Obviously, Poles is familiar with Thuney. He was with Kansas City when they traded for him. Did they trade for him for New England or sign him? I can't remember now. I think they traded for him. Either way, he was a part of that regime that got him. So that was probably more of a collaborative effort. But I think Ben Johnson, his fingerprints are all over what the Bears are doing right now, and I absolutely love that. Cranes make gains. Thoughts on James Pierce at 10? He did great at the Combine. I think based on just, without knowing completely what's true, 10 probably feels rich. There's a lot of mysterious chatter going on around him. Like, does he love football? What's going on off the field? Again, I don't know anything. But when enough people start saying things, like, there's something up there. I would like him better in a trade down scenario. I've seen reports where he could fall out of the first round. So I think 10 is probably a little rich right now, but maybe some of those things get cleared up. He was a preseason number one pick. He was in the mix for that on paper coming into this year. Still had a pretty good year on paper for Tennessee, so we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if we get more information between now and the draft. We cover the latest Bears news, rumors, free agency, draft buzz, and a whole lot more. Obviously, trade coverage as well here on the channel, so hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of it. We're trying to get to 118,000 subs ASAP, so help us get there. It's free. We thank you very much. Levante, Erik McCoy, or Cesar Ruiz via trade from New Orleans. The problem is it actually doesn't really save the Saints money if they trade those guys. They have structured contracts so bad over the years and kicked money down the road. I mean, I like both those guys, but I just, for the Saints, it actually doesn't help them. So unless it's post-June 1, which – am I trading for my starting center in June? Probably not. So I don't think that's just an avenue that you can go down. Nope. Appreciate the 5. Let's have some fun. I know Jerry would never let it happen, but if it was possible, what do you think it would take to get Micah Parsons? I think it's 10 this year, your first-round pick, your first next year, and probably 39 or 41. Like, does that get it done? 2 1s and a 2, especially a high 2 this year? Like, that's probably what my offer would be. Would I expand that? Would I do 39 and 41? I don't know if I could do that. But it's going to cost a lot, and he's worth it because he's a 25-year-old superstar pass rusher. So I think the Cowboys find a way to keep him. I think they're going to keep him in Dallas. But if they opened up trades for him, I would be sniffing around if I was Ryan Poles. Peace is a lie. Is Young the best option for a defensive end signing? His money seems comparable to the other top guys out there, and he's only 25 with history playing alongside Sweat and under Dennis Allen last year. Don't forget that with the Saints. He was 7th in the NFL in pressures for defensive ends. I think it depends. I think there's some risk here. Yes, he's young, but he has had some injuries in the past. Also, there was motor concerns at the end of his time in Washington and when he went to the 49ers. Maybe that got straightened out last year. Maybe he's matured. I think in a perfect world, he is the best option because he is still so young. Khalil Mack feels like a safer short-term option. You know what he's about. You know what he brings to the table. I think his best football, by the way, is still better than Chase Young. So, if you have to go three 3 or 4 years for Young, which I'm not sure you would, but if you did, I'd probably rather go Mac for 1 or 2 years. But I wouldn't rule out Chase Young. I'll say this. If they sign Chase Young, I got to think Dennis Allen had a lot of input there and feels good about where he's at this point in his career. So I do think him and Mac are my top 2 guys. I would rather go that route than Josh Sweat, who I think is going to just get a massive overpaid contract. I don't think I'm in that business without knowing what the numbers are, but we'll see. If Chase Young, I still think there's a scenario where he can be a game wrecker in this league. He's 25. We've seen the flashes. We'll see. I'm certainly not closing that book. Appreciate all the questions here on this mailbag episode. If you got more, at HGramNFL. I know I got DMs after this Thuney trade I'm going to have to catch up on. At HGramNFL, Twitter, Instagram. We got you covered. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll continue to answer some questions on these live shows moving forward.